And we are showing some respect, but I'm kind of just staying on my toes a little bit because I understand we've got news today and dollar could be looking very, very bullish this time tomorrow or very bearish. So things can go either way. In terms of the technicals, which is where my focus is, there is still that massive level of confidence, which, as I said, the market is so far showing respect to it. So if we can maintain this, I think there could be some nice sales to be had over the next couple, 2-3 weeks going ahead. Because as you can see previously, big rejection over here, big move to the downside, another couple of rejections there, big move to the downside. And now we're coming into that same area for a third time as well. So if this area does hold 105,500 roughly, I do think there is a lot of room for us to fall into, potentially all the way back down to the lows here. We've of course got a lot of rejection in this area, big wicks there, another one there, another big rejection in that same 101 area. So we could be seeing a big swing potentially back there. And again, not necessarily looking to trade that big move, but it's nice to know that there's a possibility for a big short. So if USD does hold this, we could see a lot of upside for euro, a lot of upside for pound, of course, so on and so forth. At the moment, the market is rejecting it. It's leaving a big wick there. If I drop to the 4-hour time frame, you're still seeing price kind of slowly develop and start to become a little bit bearish. The key thing to note is that we had this exceptional momentum after the US elections, and now price is kind of just dissipating. It's kind of all that momentum has kind of disappeared. It will be a bit of a worrying factor if we're still seeing really aggressive candles to the upside. At that point, okay, maybe we're going to get the breakout. But the fact is, we saw a big candle, and all of that momentum kind of just disappeared now, and kind of just seeing small body candles. So it looks to me that price is really struggling to break through this. Of course, we'll see what happens with the Fed this evening. But if we keep this up, I'm expecting us to go through a bit of a sell-off to the downside here. So I am looking at a lot more downside for the dollar. I like where we're trading. And if we can keep this up, there is a lot of room for us to push into. So taking that information into Euro USD, there could be some nice longs. I am looking for the market to come a little bit lower, but it's doing a good job. It looks like it hasn't quite tested that low, or maybe not to the pip. Looks like again, the market's not perfect. It looks like it missed it by a pip, but more or less, we are testing that low down the left, which is a very key low because this low started a massive drive to the upside. So if EURUSD can hold this and DXY can hold the level I just mentioned, there is a possible move to the upside for these markets. Now, it's always a little bit difficult because we had such a big bearish candle there. So we're kind of looking to go against all that momentum, which is a little bit scary sometimes. But as long as you're managing risk, you put your stop loss in a healthy place. Worst case scenario, okay, momentum continues. You take the loss and you move on to the next trade. As long as you're managing risk, there is no real harm to be done. And if it does play out, you're looking at a really nice risk to reward. And there is a lot of room to the upside for us to move into. So I do like your USD. I'm kind of still waiting for things to settle, especially with the news this evening. What I kind of would like to see is if we can have another sharp move to the downside with the Fed this evening and then some more rejection. And I can probably pick it up after probably London session Friday, because I've kind of beaten all the news, beaten all the US elections, beaten the Fed. So now it's kind of just, home sailing after that. No kind of real big news to kind of watch out for. So I like the buys here. I'm kind of still waiting for price to settle to some degree. It would be nice if we can push back down into the lows here and then find some buys, essentially looking to buy off that daily low. And of course, looking for the DXY to hold that resistance to see some downside. Aussie dollar, we saw a bit of a move to the upside for this one overnight. Things are looking semi-bullish. Again, same kind of idea, looking for the USD pairs to see some upside because I'm expecting possibly another lower high around these areas. So that's kind of where I want Aussie dollar to push into. It's very, very far away, but I do kind of expect us to see that sort of move because we've had a big drop. If I whip out the Fibonacci from the high to the low, we've got the 50% all the way up there. So that's kind of the move, the retracement I'm expecting for Aussie dollar, at least back to these areas, 0.672. And if we can get to 0.68, there could be some nice shorts there shortly afterwards. But you can see if I drop to the lower time frame, the 4-hour, really big drop to the downside. And of course, all that momentum kind of just stopped on a dime really on that level of support. A lot of wicks there. Now price is looking pretty bullish. So to me, it does look like we're getting ready for a move to the upside. This trend has been very bearish for quite a while. but you can see we're seeing characteristics of a very tight trend. And with the market showing such rejection at the low, that's a big sign saying, okay, the trend is now failing, and it's probably a good time that we're probably going to start to anticipate some upside now. We've got kind of one last high to contend with, which is the high up there, because this is what gave us that strong move. If the market can get its head above that, then yeah, I'm expecting corrections and more upside. So yeah, for the USD markets, I do think there's upside on the cards. Maybe we have kind of one last bit of noise with the Fed this evening, but in terms of the technicals, it is pointing that we could be seeing some upside for Aussie dollar, some upside for euro, downside for the dollar. If we take a look at pound USD as well, I'm pretty sure holding support pretty well. So yeah, it's still dancing at this level. Now, pound USD is not my favorite one to trade, but it does look like it's having a really tough time trying to break through this high here on the left, which is now acting as support. Similar characteristics to Aussie dollar, which is a descending channel here, very, very corrective, and running out of juice as well. So I do think, again, we can push to the upside here and anticipate a bit of a bounce. Again, as I've said, on the daily chart, we've broken structure not long ago, breaking through this low. So now I'm looking for that lower high to form, and then potentially another big drop to the downside. And if dollar does react with that 105 area, that will help fund this move up. And then we can speak about potentially some shorts later on, because I like this area up here. But we'll see when we cross that bridge. But for now, testing a big level here at 1.285, still holding pretty well. I'm looking for a bounce there for pound USD. And the USD, again, this is similar to the Aussie dollar price action in terms of we had a big move down, but all of that momentum kind of just depleted at that low. Again, really, really tight market. Yes, we've been falling pretty well, but you can see how corrective we are, not really showing much momentum. I'm expecting us to now break to the upside here. Again, bit of an obstacle on our way. If we can get our heads above 0.60093, I think that would be a really nice sign that, okay, the buyers have really stepped in, breaking structure. So now you're expecting a pullback and then some more upside. But again, looking for a bit of a push now for New Zealand dollar. And as I spoke about, I do think a move back to this area looks pretty good. If I do whip out the Fibonacci from the low to from the high to the low, you get the 50% just above that area. So naturally, that could be where prices going to be drawn towards, going to be attracted towards as we go through a healthy pullback of that big bearish move over the past few weeks. And if we take a look at dollar CAD, I'm pretty sure dollar CAD is having trouble breaking that resistance. So yeah, a bit of a reaction today. As you can see, push back into the high, really big reaction. Market's looking pretty bearish. And again, you would expect so because of where we're trading. Massive, massive level resistance. Dollar CAD is not necessarily my favorite USD pair, but look at it where it's trading. Huge level resistance. You're expecting to see at least a reaction. We might not see the full swing back to the lows, but that's completely fine. You know, this is just generally a nice place to short the market, as we expect a lot of buyers would be looking to take profit here, rightly so. A lot of sellers will be looking to jump in, higher time frame sellers looking to jump into the market. So we have seen some rejection, and I do think prices get ready for a big move to the downside there as well. Of course, gold and silver, a lot of movement with these guys yesterday. Gold, humongous move to the downside. Again, hasn't really broken structure, so my bias is still bullish for gold, but it has broken underneath that area there as well. So no buy setup for me. I said yesterday I was looking to long from 2680. I wasn't expecting price to get there that quick, but it actually broke through as well. So there's no entry, no setup for me at the moment. I'm kind of just taking it as it comes now with gold, because we might still see a bit more downside after that bearish candle. Everything is still pretty bullish. This is our high low, which gave us our high. So as long as we don't go and break through that, I'm still going to be expecting us to push up at some point. But in terms of the setup I'm looking for to get into a trade, not quite seeing that at the moment. And if we take a look at silver, of course, silver, the same thing as well. Big drops to the downside. This one broke from area of confluence. So that is going to keep me out the market for silver. I was looking for the retest of this high to hold as support with these high lows there as well. So 1, 2, 3, looking for that third test of that trend line, and of course the test of that daily level. But of course, with Gold and silver being very bearish, we saw price just absolutely drop to the downside, and didn't give me an entry signal either. So managed to stay out the way of those bearish moves. But again, silver, as I said, if you do break that structure, it just means we might go through a more prolonged pullback because the market is still, trending to the upside. The overall direction, is still up. It just might mean now that we go for a bit more of a prolonged corrective pullback, and then eventually we see that upside, which can be a good thing because it might develop into a nice setup which we can hold for the long run, or at least I can anyway. So I have to keep an eye on that, but that might take a few days to actually set up properly. So at the moment, don't really have a setup for silver, just keeping an eye. Still bullish, still looking for buys, but need the market to settle a little bit. And of course, with the Fed this evening, waiting on the sidelines for the market to do its thing is not such a bad idea.